What if one African leader's bold decision could shake the very foundations of the global financial system? What happens when Africa, a continent long exploited for its wealth, reclaims its resources and uses them for its own development? Burkina Faso's president, Ibrahim Traoré, has made a historic move by nationalizing his country's gold mines, sparking debates across the world. Could this be the turning point that Africa has been waiting for? And could Traoré be the next Gaddafi, leading a revolution that will reshape the global economy while asserting Africa's rightful place on the world stage? In this video, we will explore the implications of Traoré's decision to take back control of Burkina Faso's gold and how this could mark a critical turning point for Africa's future. We will dive into the history of Africa's resource exploitation. If you're interested in understanding the forces that are shaping Africa's development and want to stay up to date with the latest news and analysis, make sure to subscribe to the African Web and hit the bell icon so you never miss any updates. Africa has long been a battleground for its resources, with its natural wealth being extracted and exported while its people are left impoverished. Colonialism set the stage for this dynamic as European powers divided Africa into colonies designed to feed their home countries with raw materials. Gold, diamonds, oil, and other valuable resources were taken from the continent and used to build European empires. The effects of this exploitation were devastating for Africa. Millions of people were enslaved, and entire economies were structured to serve the interests of foreign powers. While European nations grew richer, African nations were left with economies dependent on the export of raw materials and a lack of industrial infrastructure. The consequences of this imbalance have lingered long after the end of colonial rule. Post-independence, African nations struggled to break free from this system of exploitation. Though no longer directly controlled by European powers, they remained economically dependent on them. Multinational corporations moved in to take over where colonial governments left off, continuing to extract resources at unfair terms. These companies often struck deals with corrupt African leaders, ensuring that the profits from Africa's natural wealth flowed out of the continent rather than being invested in its development. Burkina Faso's situation is emblematic of this broader African struggle. Rich in gold, the country has long been exploited by foreign mining companies. These corporations made billions of dollars from Burkina Faso's gold, while the local population saw little benefit. The profits left the country, and the people of Burkina Faso remained in poverty, with minimal investment in critical areas such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. This is why Ibrahim Traoré's decision to nationalize the gold mines is so significant. It represents a clear break from this history of exploitation and dependency. By taking control of its resources, Burkina Faso is asserting its sovereignty and sending a message to the world that it will no longer be a pawn in the global economic game. For countries like Burkina Faso, which has significant gold reserves, control over this resource can be a powerful tool. It gives them leverage in the global economy and the ability to shape their own economic destiny. By nationalizing its gold mines, Burkina Faso is positioning itself to benefit more directly from the global demand for gold. Could Traoré's move be seen in a similar light? Is he positioning Burkina Faso, and potentially Africa as a whole, to challenge Western dominance in the global economy? While it is too early to tell, the nationalization of the gold mines certainly puts Burkina Faso in a stronger position. It gives the country greater control over its economic future and could inspire other African nations to follow suit. Traoré's decision is not an isolated event. Across Africa, there is a growing movement towards reclaiming control over the continent's resources. This movement is driven by a desire to break free from the cycle of exploitation and underdevelopment that has plagued Africa for centuries. In recent years, we have seen other African leaders take bold steps to assert their country's sovereignty. In Niger, for example, the government recently raised the price of uranium, one of the country's most valuable resources, from €0.80 to €200 per kilogram. This move shocked the global uranium market and sent a clear message that Niger would no longer allow its resources to be sold off at bargain prices. Similarly, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, President Felix Tshisekedi has renegotiated contracts with foreign mining companies to ensure that the country receives a fairer share of the profits from its mineral wealth. The DRC is one of the world's largest producers of cobalt, a critical component in the batteries that power electric vehicles. By renegotiating these contracts, Tshisekedi is ensuring that the DRC benefits more from the global transition to renewable energy. These moves are part of a broader trend towards economic nationalism in Africa. Leaders like Traoré, Tshisekedi, and Niger's Mohamed Bazoum are challenging the traditional model of resource extraction, in which foreign corporations take the profits while African nations are left with little more than environmental damage and economic dependency. This shift is long overdue. For too long, Africa has been seen as a source of cheap raw materials for the rest of the world. But as the global demand for resources like gold, uranium, and cobalt increases, African nations are in a stronger position to demand better terms. By taking control of their resources, they can ensure that the wealth generated from these resources is reinvested in their own countries, helping to lift their populations out of poverty and drive economic development. While the nationalization of resources can offer many benefits, it also comes with significant risks. For one, nationalization can lead to conflicts with foreign corporations and governments that have a vested interest in maintaining control over Africa's resources. These corporations often have powerful allies in Western governments, which may apply economic or political pressure on African nations that attempt to denationalize their industries. In addition, nationalization requires strong governance and the ability to manage complex industries. Without the proper expertise and infrastructure, nationalized industries can suffer from inefficiency and corruption. This has been a problem in some African countries, where nationalization efforts have failed to deliver the promised benefits due to poor management and lack of transparency. For Burkina Faso, the success of Traoré's nationalization plan will depend on the government's ability to effectively manage the gold mines and ensure that the profits are used for the benefit of the people. This will require investment in education and training to build the skills needed to operate the mines, as well as strong institutions to oversee the management of the industry. Furthermore, Traoré will need to navigate the potential backlash from the international community. Western governments and multinational corporations are unlikely to sit idly while Burkina Faso reclaims control over its resources. There could be economic sanctions, diplomatic pressure, or even covert efforts to undermine Traoré's government. The nationalization of Burkina Faso's gold mines could also have significant implications for the global economy. As one of the world's leading gold producers, any destruction in Burkina Faso's gold production could affect global gold prices. If other African nations follow Traoré's lead and nationalize their resources, it could lead to a broader realignment of global supply chains. However, in the long term, it could lead to a more equitable distribution of wealth, as African nations gain greater control over their resources and use them to drive their own development. Do you think Ibrahim Traoré's move to nationalize Burkina Faso's gold mines will inspire other African nations to reclaim control over their resources? Could this decision mark the beginning of a new economic era for Africa, free from Western dominance? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the African Web.